Hey everybody, I'm Jay Rue. Thanks, Jay. I'm Jay Rue. I'm one of the next gen leaders at the nonprofit Kheprw Institute here in Indianapolis, Indiana, which is where we are broadcasting today's conversation. And if you've never heard of Kheprw Institute, we're a nonprofit, again, in Indianapolis, Indiana. We've been around for about 20 years, and our focus is community empowerment through social enterprise, youth leadership development, and building strong and deep relationship through conversations just like this one. And it's my honor and privilege to be able to open up the show and welcome y'all. And I'm very honored and privileged to be able to do so. I don't want to shout out too much, and I don't want to hold the conversation for too long. The only piece that I want to make sure I get in here right at the top is please, please, please support our work in developing and empowering community. Go to donate.kheprw.org. I'll be dropping the link for that in the chat. And
One more time. I didn't catch.
oh, you didn't hear that, Maurice? Okay, that's donate.kheprw.org, and I'll be putting that into the chat. Thank you, Maurice. And the only other piece that I wanted to make sure folks knew about. Oh, thank you. I think I already see somebody doing it. See, man, you love to see it. That's community building right there. I don't even got to put my hands on the keyboard. And then the only other piece that I want to make sure I shouted out is if you are interested in economy, black empowerment, the solidarity economy, we're going to be having a conversation with Dr. Jessica Gordon Emhart on July 30th. She's going to be right here in Indianapolis, Indiana. She's the author of Collective Courage, the African American Cooperative Economic Thought and Practice. And yeah, that's a tongue twister of a title, but hey, we make it through. But yeah, she's going to be here giving a keynote and speaking to us about her book, about the current political and economic state of the world. And we all know how that's going right now. And just building some relationship with her. So if you are interested in those kinds of topics, or if you want to learn more about Kheprw Institute and some of the work we do, come join us on July 30th for that session. It's going to be a great one. So now, with all of my little promos out of the way, I am going to introduce some of our guests today. So I'm here with Maurice Broaddus. Y'all know him, y'all love him. But I'm going to be introducing Cadwell Turnbull, who grew up on St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Cadwell is the award-winning author of The Lesson, No Gods, No Monsters, and We Are the Crisis. His short fiction has appeared in The Verge, Lightspeed, Nightmare, Asimov's Science Fiction, and several other anthologies. His novel, The Lesson, was the winner of the 2020 Newcomb Institute Literary Award in the debut category. No Gods, No Monsters was the winner of the Lambda, a finalist for the Shirley Jackson Award and the Manly Wade Wellman Award, and was longlisted for the PEN Open Award. We Are the Crisis was a finalist for the Manly Way Wellman Award and an Ignite Award. Oh my gosh, you are really award winning. That's crazy. That's all over the place. Yeah, I'll say, well, we got a great show for y'all tonight. I'm looking forward to it. Maurice, I need you to sit down. Okay, and I'm gonna pass it over to our good friend Calwell to kick us off tonight. Put your hands together for him. Here, you can use this turn. I'll turn
All right. Thank you all for joining us tonight, both online and in person. Hey, everybody. My name is Cadwell Turnbull. I am a 2016 graduate of Clarion West Writing Workshop. And I also taught week 3 last year. So it's really great to be here again doing something with Clarion West. The mission of Clarion West is to support emerging and underrepresented voices by providing writers with world-class instruction to empower their creation of wild and amazing worlds. Through conversation and public engagement, we bring those voices to an ever-expanding community. Clarion West has been a major part of my own journey as a writer. As I just mentioned, I was a graduate of 2016. We had that year N.K. Jameson, we had Stephen Graham Jones. It was a fantastic, wonderful experience. I remember with a friend of mine, and we're still quite close from the class. When NK showed up, we were all in the basement and we were freaking out because we didn't have a haircut. Like we didn't cut our hair in like 3 weeks. And we were going to see this famous person. And so all of those memories still live in my mind. And it was such a wonderful experience to be able to teach last year and have memories with a new set of students. And it's great being here with Maurice here today. Okay. I also want to thank everyone participating in the Write-a-thon, Clarion West's longest running fundraiser, like a walkathon, but with words. Oh. We are up to 98 participants and have just under 2 weeks to go to fundraise before writers begin their 2 weeks completing their writing goals. We're now over halfway to raising the first $5,000 in the Write-a-thon, which will unlock our first Write-a-thon reward Q&A with special guest instructor, Stephen Graham Jones, on Saturday, July 12th. This event will be virtual and open to anyone in the community. Help make it happen by supporting the Write-a-thon today. All right, just a bit more. If you're already participating in a Write-a-thon, please raise your hand or feel free to drop a link to your personal fundraising page in the chat. If you're not writing this year, you can support a writer by clicking a link and sponsoring a writer. Sponsoring a writer is easy. Click the link to be taken to their profile and make a contribution. We will have time for Q&A at the end of this conversation. You're welcome to place your questions in the Q&A section featured on your dashboard. Today's reading is part of a series with the next reading and conversation with Carlos Hernandez and editor Diana Foe on July 22nd at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Indianapolis time. Their reading will also be hybrid and take place in person in Brooklyn. Very cool. This series and other programs like it are supported by King County for Culture and Seattle Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs and many individual donors. Thank you to all the donors. All right, now let me introduce this week's instructor, Maurice Broaddus. Maurice also has a really long bio, and I'm going to read it all because it's really impressive. Yes. Maurice Broaddus is a fiction and games writer, an editor, a community organizer, and a teacher. His work has appeared in magazines like Lightspeed Magazine, Beneath the Skies, Asimov's Magazine of NSF, and Uncanny Magazine, with some of his stories having been collected in The Voices of Martyrs. His books include the Astra Black series, Black Panther, T'Challa Declassified, The Steampunk Works, Buffalo Soldier, and Pimp My Airship, which is a fantastic title, and the middle grade detective novels, The Usual Suspects and Unfadable. His project, Sorcerers, is being adapted as a television show for AMC, which I have a question about. His gaming work includes writing for the Marvel superheroes, Leverage, and Firefly role-playing games, as well as working as a consultant on Watch Dogs 2. As an editor, he's worked on Dark Faith, Fireside Magazine, and Apex Magazine. All right. So I've had a few conversations with Maurice in the past. I'm like an hour away from Indy, so sometimes I come out for the day and we just hang out and we chat. But I've never gotten to do this, hang out with Maurice in front of an audience and ask him questions, right? And embarrass him with.
I guess the porch doesn't really count.
Right,
so,
no, it doesn't count. So I'm gonna start this off with some very specific questions. All right, so I've been reading Sweep of Stars and loving it so far. Mm-hmm. And I had a question about aspirational futures and the need to write aspirational futures and how you managed to do that in the Astra Black series while still making it feel very plausible and real.
So, good evening, everybody. So the Astra Black series, actually, it's funny that it's timely that or I guess a convergence, as it were, that we're meeting in this space, because the Astra Black series is literally me just reimagining the work of the Kheprw Institute in the future.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And so how it started was, man, I think it's been about 5 years. And I made the pitch about for this potential series, and then I was doing the world building for it, right? But the world building looked a lot like me just talking to our neighbors and talking to the other Afrofuturists at the Kheprw Institute, and like, hey, what if we win? Yeah, what are we working towards? What would it look like if we could set up systems on our terms? Mm-hmm. What could that look like? And that became this huge conversation throughout the organization. And then it became actually one of the co-founding elders. His name's Imhotep. He and I started having Saturday morning coffees together. just to like daydream about the possibility of what things could look like.
That's dope.
And so like one of them, I can remember because like one day his son wanted to sit, he's like, y'all do this every week. And I'm like, yeah. So what do y'all talk about? And so like, well, today's discussion is, what if AI was self-aware and had a soul? And so me and him were just talking about this just randomly. And then I remember at the end of this, someone was just like, y'all do this shit every week? I'm like, yeah, this is what we do. And he's like, okay. But yes, we just do all that stuff for like, just daydream about, different systems. What could education look like? What could governing ourselves look like? What could policing look like? The role of AI in community, just
Right.
also we just sit around, we were just talking crazy and just daydreaming and stuff. But that was, I love world building as a community development, and because that's literally what it was. So I'm talking to my neighbors, we're dreaming together, and slowly I'm piecing this world together. But it's literally, what would we like to see? How would we like to live? What would it look like if the priorities of the world was like, hey, we value teachers and artists, as like the top, as like the highest level of society. We value science and we pay attention to science. These all become important things. Imhotep, one of his big passions is jazz music. So we end up having a discussion about the role of improv
Right.
as leadership development, as youth leadership development, which we just had that conversation again this past Saturday. And so basically we have all these conversations, and the plausibility part is, all right, so if we know that this is what we want to do, is this what we want to work towards, why can't we start doing some of that now? So it's one of those things, which I think is the big thing about Afrofuturism is, you cast a potential future. Well, now we have that vision in place, something we can work towards.
How do we get there? Yeah.
Yep. And so it becomes like a sort of feedback loop.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I also found, right? So this is now like a technical like writer question. All right. So one of the things that I noticed while reading is you're doing some really interesting things with POV, right? You have first person, you have third person, and you have second person operating within this narrative. And I was just wondering what went into you making that decision, and what went into you making that decision for the specific characters that you chose, right? Like, what's the rationale behind it?
So part of it was inspired by N.K. Jemisin's book, the Broken Earth trilogy, because N.K. Jemisin's who I want to be when I grow up. And right. And so part of it was inspired by her, and I was just like, oh man, that's an interesting writing challenge for what she was doing with that book. But to your bigger question about what it meant for each character, it's actually their relationship to the idea of community. So with the Astra Black universe, the community is called Muungano, and it's a community. Obviously, it's an intergalactic community. And so while everybody's a part of this community, the POV is in terms of what is your relationship to the community. So most people, we're just a part of Muungano, so it's third person. If they are a part of the community, but if they don't feel like they're a part, like I'm part of this community, but I feel kind of separate, than a second person.
Oh, okay.
And then if you're so embedded in community, you can't think in terms outside of community, then it's first person plural. We do this, we do that, because there is no I.
Oh my God.
But then there's also the ones who, I'm a part of community, but I cannot see outside the lens of I. Therefore, it's in first person singular. I do this, I do that. But so it's all about their relationship to the idea of community.
That's brilliant. I'm really glad I asked that question. That's brilliant. Okay. And when I was reading it, I was like, oh, okay, this was reminding me of the Broken Earth trilogy, but you're doing something so different with it. Right. And so I think that like it's you don't get a lot of narratives that have multiple points of view, right? Yes. You have like multiple characters or perspectives, but points of view isn't a thing that you see a lot. And so it was really cool to see it. Yes, and for it to be applied this way.
It comes when you don't care about your sales.
We could talk about that too. How these things affect your sales, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we've talked about this before, probably on your porch. But I was curious, what the experience has been like writing a series. Like, what are the things that you have enjoyed writing a series like this one?
Mhm.
How has it been challenging? Do you intend on doing another one?
Mm.
And if you intend on doing another one, what lessons are you going to try to carry into
Oh,
the
gotcha.
new series?
Yes, this is only my second time ever writing a series. Um, so the first time I wrote a series was my Knights of Breton Court series, and that was my we'll call it my King Arthur and the Hood trilogy.
Dope.
Right. And but when I saw that trilogy, I saw the first book, and the editor was like, "Well, hey, he was in love with the premise," and then he's like, "If you can make it work, we'll buy the book." And then when he gets to the end of the book, he goes, "Yeah, but I hated the ending unless it's the beginning of a trilogy."
So you're like, sure. You just was like, that
Of
was my plan all
of
along.
course, of course, it was the beginning of a trilogy. What idiot writer would end the book there if they weren't thinking of it as being a trilogy? And then by then I had an agent, and my agent's like, do you have a trilogy, or do I need to stall?" I'm like, "Yeah, you may want to stall for a minute," because they wanted to know what books 2 and 3 would look like. I'm like, "Yeah, give me a minute." So that was like an unintentional trilogy that I eventually worked out. With Astra Black, um, it was pitched as a yeah, it was pitched as a trilogy, more or less. So it's this is like, you know, way deep in the weeds sort of industry talk, but I basically, when I sold the trilogy, I sold it off of, I wrote the first 3 chapters of Sweep of Stars, and I wrote an outline for Sweep of Stars, and then it went to what's called auction, so they had different publishers bidding on the project. And my wife couldn't understand. She's like, "You've worked all your life. You have 5 publishers bidding on your project. Why are you curled up in a ball in the corner?" And
Makes total sense to me though.
right, see, thank you. And I'm like, "Honey, this book doesn't exist. People are bidding on a book that doesn't exist, on a series that don't exist." And so, you know, as you can imagine, and you probably know,
Uh-huh.
it's like, oh, that you have all these expectations now. Every time someone increases the bid, you're like, "Still don't exist. It still don't exist."
Mm-hmm.
But it was planned as a trilogy, and it's one of those things where I'm just like, "Ooh, this is." And I've learned literally no lessons from first trilogy to second trilogy. I literally did all the same things I did for the first trilogy. I was like, "Hey, you know what? You know what? Here's, since it's just you and me right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no one else is
Yeah, no one else
listening
paying
to
attention.
this.
Here's the problem: is when people pay me in advance, and I've cashed the check. I'm like, oh, I can do what I want now. And so then it becomes all of a sudden a sprawling cast of characters, and me suddenly experimenting with whatever I want to do. I'm just like, the check cleared. So now's the time for me to experiment, which is literally why you got all these multiple POVs and all that kind of stuff. I'm just like, yeah, I want to. I'm practicing my craft. I'm pushing myself as a writer. I'm trying to do all these other things with the security of let my wife know, hey, they've paid for this. We're good. So I'm free to experiment. So
That also makes sense to me, right? Like now would be the time, right?
right,
Like
now's the time.
you have the support to do it, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly. It's the industry supporting my creative endeavors, and that's why I love them.
so I have more questions off of this.
Okay.
So um doing that, right? Making the decision to then like push yourself as a writer.
So I'm literally going, there are Clarion students watching us going, wait, this is what he's on? This is how you navigate the industry? Yeah,
This is how it works.
this is how it works.
Yeah, so you made the decision to push yourself. You have the opportunity to do it,
Yep.
right? And you put a lot of stuff in the first book
Yep.
that wouldn't have been there otherwise if you didn't decide to stretch yourself.
Right.
What is the challenge of doing that when you have to pay that off in the second and the third book? Like how does the problem multiply or find interesting solutions as you work forward?
So just the yeah. um because I don't plan out book 2 till, so I get book 1 done and turned in, and then it's like, now I shall start writing book 2. I have no idea what I'm going to do with book 2. So let's just sit down and figure out what's going to happen in book 2. Um in fact, I remember at one point, because there's a bit of a murder mystery that starts in Sweep of Stars also. Hopefully you're up to that part, because spoilers. There's going to be a murder mystery. Um and so I'm halfway through writing book 2, and I like call up my buddy, and I'm like, I figured out who killed so and so in book 1, and he's like, you didn't know who killed them when you wrote the scene, and I'm like,
That's how it works.
that's exactly how it works.
That's
It's
how
like,
it works.
yeah, I had to figure it out. I figured it out, along with the reader. And he's like, oh, so who was it? And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna actually reveal that until book 3. Now that I know, yeah, I can lay more
I
clues.
love that. I love that. Figuring it out when you're working on book 2 and not
Right.
saving it until book
And then
3.
until book 3. So book 2 is like, book 2 is always fun because it's the middle book. So it's like I'm just expanding the stories and expanding the characters. I'm throwing them all over to the far reaches of the universe in this book 2. The challenge is always book 3. That's the anxiety inducer because it's like, oh,
I gotta wrap.
I gotta wrap it up.
up.
And
Yeah.
so, is that someone that might be someone looking to come in. They seem suitably lost. But yeah, so you put all these threads into the first book, and then you expand on all those threads in the second book, and then come book 3, you're like, I have to wrap this up somehow.
You have to land all the planes.
All of the planes.
Yeah.
All of the planes. And then the other piece is I tend to write a lot. Here's the thing about world building. So like I said, I spent like about 18 months, almost 2 years doing the world building for this whole universe.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Right.
I don't want to let that work go to waste. So yeah, I mean, I'm writing 3 novels in this world, but I have short stories I like to write too. And so
yeah,
I set all the short stories in the same universe because the world's already built. So that means all I got to do is just write the story at this point.
brilliant.
So I've written about a dozen stories in this world also. But every time I write a story in this world, that actually has impact on the rest of the book. And so if I have readers who have followed the short stories as well as the books, I have to satisfy all of them too, as I'm still trying to land this one big plane.
Oh, that's absolutely wild, Maurice. That's too far.
I know that's the bridge too far. So
that's quite impressive.
I have a couple of pre-readers who've read the early draft of book 3, and I'm like, and these are like the quote unquote the super fans, the ones who've read everything. And I'm like, hey, by the way, could you read that? And they're like, oh man, we have to read it in progress. I'm like, yes, please. And then I'm like, all right, did I cover everything? This is not the final product. I just need to know if I land all the planes. And the one was like, hey, what about blah, blah, blah? And I'm like,
oh no.
Time for a rewrite because that's a whole storyline I forgot about.
That is my nightmare.
Oh, yeah. It's mine too. But that's where I'm at right now. Living the nightmare.
Okay, I have one more. Let's jump back.
I'm just spilling all the secrets right now.
Now that I have you in private, we can talk about this.
Right, yeah, go ahead.
So like, what's the shape of a third book like that? Do you have like multiple climaxes, multiple resolutions? Because that's something that I found when I was working on the third book, that it was like, in order to resolve things, you have to resolve things on multiple levels if you set it up on multiple levels. Right. So what does that look like? How does that affect the shape of a third book?
So my first instinct, my first thing is I outline. Well, I'm trying to make a list of all the planes I got to land. So here are all the threads I got to tie together, and I have to tie them together in a way that makes sense, and in a way that no one sees coming.
Yep.
And so I have 2 things planned for book 3 that hopefully no one's. Well, I right now I know no one sees coming because I was inebriated when I came up with the idea. So I know no one's going to see it coming. So I was like, whoa, that's what you could do? Okay, yeah, that's how we end the book then. And so, not that I drink a lot, kids, because I'm a role model for the youth.
It's okay.
Okay.
Oh man, this is gonna get increasingly unhinged. Let's move on. So, all right. So you are working on, or you have completed a collaboration with Wayne Brady on a story that's coming out in the Stand anthology. This is Stephen King's The Stand.
Yes.
Right? It's called what's it called?
Abigail's.
The End of the World as
yeah.
We Know It.
Yes.
New Tales from Stephen King's The Stand.
Yes.
What was that experience like, both working with Wayne Brady and also like working on an IP like that?
Ooh.
Like, how much pressure is it to like enter like Stephen King's world? And
There's pressure starting working with Wayne Brady for a start.
yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah. This is a weird story to recount because like one day I'm hanging out on Twitter back when it was Twitter, and then Wayne Brady tweets at me and goes, "Hey, I just read Knights of Breton Court. I'm a huge fan."
Are you serious?
Dead ass. So I all but print out the tweet, and I'm ready to put on a T-shirt and just wear it around, just like, Wayne Brady's a fan of mine. I'm like literally, no one could talk to me for like a week. I'm just like, and then my wife's like, "You do know you're being catfished, right?" And I'm like, "Honey, no." And because then he hits me up in my DMs and is just like, "Hey, I'd love it if we could have a chance to just talk story ideas and da 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 da." Right, right. That face, that's me right now. And so, and this is like during the pandemic, so it's all, all Zoom calls and everything. And so I'm like, sure, 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 we can talk Wayne Brady. Let's set up a Zoom call. So
Totally normal. Right?
totally normal and definitely not my not weird at all. Not weird at all. And I definitely wasn't sitting in front. Like I've got my camera on and I've pulled up Zoom. I'm waiting for him to log on. I'm like, please be Wayne, please be Wayne, please be Wayne, please be Wayne. And then the camera comes on and it's him. I'm like, oh, thank God it's you. And he's like, yeah, it's me. And I'm like,
No, don't worry.
it'll be
Long
all right.
story. Long story.
Yeah, long story, Wayne. and and so, but we became really fast friends because he's a nerd. I mean, Wayne Brady is a nerd. He's a nerd's nerd. This is being recorded, so hopefully he might. He knows I call him this all the time. But he's a nerd's nerd. I mean, like he's so one of us. So like we're having that initial conversation, and I'm like bringing up books and like, hey, well, what about da da da? And I'll mention a book, and he would just reach off camera and go, "Do you mean this book?" And I'd say something else. Da, 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 da. He go, "You mean this book?" And I'm like,
Is there like a magic trunk in it?
right, right. Well, I come to find out because I asked him about this. He goes, "Look, I'm an actor. Do you know what most of acting is? Waiting."
Mm-hmm.
So I just read all the time. All the time. He's just
That
reading.
makes sense. Yeah.
And so he's reading us. And so I'm like, oh man, this is great. And so now fast forward, and so now he and I start doing, we start working together, bouncing ideas off of, start doing short stories and stuff together. I think our first short story together was for Jonathan Mayberry. He was doing an anthology for his Joe Ledger character.
Wait a second.
Yeah, okay.
You've done multiple stories with Wayne Brady. It's really burying the lead.
Come back to that in a second. But like Jonathan Mayberry is like one of his favorite authors of all time.
Right.
But like Jonathan had just hit me up. He's like, "Hey, you want to write my Joe Ledger series?" I'm like, he goes, "Have you read it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, nah." But I have a friend who's read it and is a big fan. Can I just write the story with him? He goes, "Yeah, sure." And then like a couple weeks later, he's like, "Wait, who's your friend?" And I'm like, "It's Wayne Brady." He's like, and I still have this email where all it is, what? I'm like, okay. So yeah, so we did a story for Jonathan, and then so fast forward, Brian Keene and Mary San Giovanni are getting married, and they want me to officiate the wedding. I know that was a whole sentence.
Your life.
And,
Continue.
And so so we go through the ceremony and everything, and then that's when Brian is like, "Hey, me and Chris Golden are editing this Stephen King anthology. Would you be interested in writing?" I said, "Well, I would. I also have a friend who'd probably be interested in writing it too." Is that the person? I think that was the person. They're fine. And so I said it'd be me and Wayne writing the story together. They're like, "Yeah, sure, we're going for that." So I'm like, "Okay." So then I pitched Wayne on the idea, and he's like, "You know what we have to do, right?" I said, "Oh, okay. I'm just curious." Just like he's like, "You know who we have to do?"
Someone was at the door.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Mother Abigail." We basically almost said it at the same time. Like, we got to write Mother Abigail. And so then we go back to Brian, like, "Hey, Brian," and Brian and Chris actually is like, "Hey, we'd love to do a Mother Abigail story." And they're like, "Oh, we forgot to tell you the rules of the anthology is no one's allowed to use any of the original characters from the book. You just have to write in the world of the anthology. I mean, in the world of the stand, you can't use the actual characters. And I'm like, oh, okay. We'll come up with a plan B. And then Brian's like, well, hold on. I'll go check with Steve and see what he thinks. Steve, because to Brian, it's
Yeah,
Steve.
it's like when you said Wayne.
Right. But it's
Yeah.
Steve. To me, it's always, Mr. King.
Yeah.
Right. But he's going to go check with Steve and get back to us. Me and Wayne come up with a plan B storyline. And then Brian writes back and he said, Steve said there is no one he would trust more with that character than the two of you.
What?
Right. So remember that corner I was curled up in before?
You were same corner?
Yeah, I'm back in that corner.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm back in that corner.
That's a huge honor, though. That's
huge.
amazing.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge honor, huge responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And then now it's like, oh, hey, Wayne, we really got to get this right now. So yeah, so that's basically what we labored under.
How did it go? You feel good about it?
I feel really good about it. And actually, because for a while, Steve was tweeting out as he was reading each story. And so like every day, Wayne would call me up, has Steve read our story yet? Has Steve read our story yet? And it was like, I don't know. And then finally, I just can't take it anymore. And I reach out to Brian and Chris. I'm like, has Steve read our story? And they come back like, Steve said your story was lovely. I was like, oh,
whoa,
we're good. That's the blurb on that's my tombstone blurb as far as I'm concerned. Stephen King, his story was lovely. So, although I don't know what lovely means from a professional horror writer.
I'm sure you have some questions that you could maybe slip in there and see if you can get some answers. Okay, so when is it coming out? When is
it comes out August 19th.
Okay.
August 19th, because so that's going to be huge.
Fairly soon.
It's very soon. And it's so on August 19th, everyone who's in the anthology is doing a signing somewhere around the world.
That's smart.
Yeah, it is crazy. So me and Wayne will be in Brooklyn doing a signing on August 19th for the book.
That's fantastic. All right. So you've done other IP work, right? You've done quite a few, right? So like not even talking about the game writing, right? You've done IP work for Marvel. You've done both in short and long form Black Panther work, right? What has that experience been like? What do you think the value is in doing IP work, and what would you be excited to do what would be like your dream IP project that you haven't already done more?
Right. Okay. All right. Fine. Well, here's you know what the big value to doing IP work is?
What?
I get street cred with my middle school students.
That sounds right.
That was the first year I was teaching so I've been working at a middle school for about 8 years. I think I'm going on my 9th year now. And I remember when I was working and I had had my class, and my class was notoriously rambunctious, and I remember it was a computer class, and which if you knew me teaching technology is, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And so one of the kids was acting up, and he had turned his screen, he changed screensavers so there was an image of Watch Dogs 2. And I was like, oh, that's Watch Dogs 2. And he was like, what you know about Watch Dogs 2, Mr. Broaddus? And I'm like, I was one of the writers for it. And then all of a sudden, like, his face freezes. He stands on his chair and goes, all of y'all be quiet. Mr. Broaddus is speaking now. And I'm like, wait, what? And so then I had to repeat the story. Like, no, I was one of the writers. And they're like, no. And I'm like, you can go check that. And then it became a challenge. Yeah, and I'm all out of teacher mode now. Now you just challenge me to street level. Like, look here. You can go check the credits right now. Look for my name. And then sure enough, they went and checked. And they're like, oh, Mr. Broaddus, you've written things. I'm like, oh, yeah. So
the novels don't count.
At that point, I've had probably like a 15-year career at this point. None of that counts. That was the first credit they gave me credit for. So Mr. Broaddus did that. Then I turned around and I wrote the Black Panther short story. They gave me a second credit for that. Mr. Broaddus is writing Black Panther, but it's also middle school. So by the time that goes through the rumor mill, I was apparently writing the movie. Right. And so, oh no, the sequel. I was writing the sequel to the movie.
That's wild.
And I didn't bother to correct them. I just like, y'all
I mean, that's just fun.
Yeah, that's fun. I'll just let that one ride. And so yeah, and then I got offered, and then so what's interesting though is it actually came full circle because for to do the Black Panther book, so Marvel's doing interviews with people, right? They're interviewing different writers, and so and they let me know they're interviewing different writers, and I'm up for the gig, and I'm like, okay, sure. And so I said, so we set up a time to do the interview and everything, and so I'm still at school at the time, so turn on my camera, and in my classroom, in my classroom, whenever the kids come to my classroom, they always say that we're entering Wakanda, anyway, right? Because I have these custom curtains in my room. I have all this Black Panther stuff all over the place. So when the camera comes on, they go, oh, you've staged this for the interview, and I'm like, no, this is my life, and they're like, yeah, oh, okay, and I'm like, I'm gonna point you to this painting behind me, and it's a painting of Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, and I said, because Chadwick had just passed, right, and so I said, my students said, Mr. Broaddus is going to feel a way now that Black Panther has died. So they made me these paintings of Chadwick Boseman to make me feel better. And that was hanging up behind me. And yeah, that face, all of that. That was me. Even now, I'm like still going like, oh, I still feel a way. And they were like, this interview's over. You get the gig.
Oh God.
And so, as a matter of fact, speaking of full circle, the young lady who painted that for me, we just went to her open house 3 weeks ago because she just graduated from high school.
Oh, that's wild.
So then I told her that story, that she was the reason I got the Black Panther gig. So then she ends up crying, being thankful for all of that. So
that's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Congrats. How long? How long did you get for working on that novel? Like, what was the window?
Okay, now that's where the story gets insane. See, this was all the happy story.
I'm asking this very like wonky question because I'm like really curious about that stuff, right?
3 months.
3 months.
3 months to research, do all the research, to come up with how I was going to tell the story, and then write the story. 3 months.
How did you do that? How did you do that?
Well, so it did help that I mean, when I say I'm a Black Panther nerd, I was a Black Panther. Well, I am a Black Panther nerd. And so I had most of Black Panther's appearances up until the point where I had to quit collecting comic books. I had to quit collecting comic books in 2002 or 2003, somewhere in there. I'm looking at my wife because she was the one who informed me when I would be done collecting comic books. Because she was just like, we had just had our second son in 2002. Actually, today's his birthday. Happy birthday, Malcolm! And so, but he was born in 2002, and I was still collecting at that point. And she's like, look, we have 2 kids. You can either keep collecting comic books, or you can provide food for the kids. But I don't think we can do both. So I prayed about it. But I ended up, I quit collecting comic books. But up until then, I had like every Black Panther appearance up until that point, just about.
Oh, you were made for this project.
So I was made for this project. And so then the bulk of my research was like, here, what issues am I missing? So I have to do research at the school in front of my students. What you doing, Mr. Broaddus? Researching. Because I'm a professional writer. Wow, I'm just flipping through comic books. Said, y'all go ahead and write that cute little essay of y'all's. I'll be doing this.
It's real work. It's real work.
Right. So the pitch of the premise of, because it's called a declassified series, and so the premise of the series. So I think Black Panther was book 2, and I think first book was Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
And so the premise was, we want you to tell the story of this character in all found media. So it'd be like declassified Shield files or newspaper interviews or things like that. Tell the story so that we can hear from that character in their voice.
Oh, it's hard mode, yeah.
Right. And I said, that's great. Yeah, I'm not doing that. And so they're like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm a Black Panther nerd. And so I'm deep in the weeds right now. I'm in my nerd bag, so y'all have to give me patience right now. But I'm like, in Christopher Priest's run of Black Panther, which I consider the definitive Black Panther run, and this reminds me of when I start arguing about Star Trek Deep Space Nine is the best iteration of Star Trek. I'm just in my nerd bag right now. So y'all, I'm just going right now. So in his run, what made his run so iconic to me was the fact that you were never in Black Panther's head. He's this mysterious figure who's 5, 6, 7 steps ahead of all of his enemies. But he's always calculating. He's always up to something. But he's an enigma. He's an enigma to his family. He's an enigma to his friends. He's an enigma to his teammates. But if he passes through your life has been changed just from encountering him. And I said, that's how I want to write the book. It's not from his point of view, but from the point of view of all the folks whose life he passes through.
This feels a lot like, I don't mean to bring it back here,
yeah.
but it feels a lot like how everyone described Chadwick.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah. No, yeah.
I was just recently watching a interview with Michael B. Jordan where he was talking about this, like just the weight of impact.
Yeah.
Like hard to pin down, but like
right.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry.
No, but that's it. Now their response was, no, that's not what we want. And I'm like, that is absolutely fair.
I think you're right, by the way.
Oh, so did I. So I did it my way anyway. And because remember, I got 3 months.
Yeah.
I got 3 months. So I'm just like, oh, okay. And that was my response was, oh, okay. And then at month 2, I turned in the rough draft of me doing it my way.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, this isn't what we asked for. But whatever strange magic you're doing, can you do more of it? And I'm like, done. We can do that.
Can I just say
Yeah.
how huge of a gamble that is? That takes guts.
Right.
Because if that didn't work out, then you would have to start from scratch and would have a month left.
Okay, but 2 things.
Okay.
Thing number 1, they gave me 3 months and there was 1 month left. And so for me to start over would be for me to start over.
Okay.
Thing number 2, the check cleared.
I feel like this is like a slogan or a motto that you should just have. Like over a door, like a.
Did the check clear?
That's great. Well, clearly it
Yeah,
it worked out.
Just like randomly watch this. Like he did what? And I'm like,
It worked out though.
It did work out.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of that book actually.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you about like you're a community organizer.
Mhm.
And you do a lot of that work, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess the question I have is how do you balance that against the work that you have to do as a teacher and as a writer? Like how do
Yeah.
you find the space to do all of that work and do it well and be
Yeah.
engaged?
So currently, I'm I am the resident Afrofuturist at the Kheprw Institute, and I am the librarian at the Oaks Academy because I've moved from being a teacher over there to I helped restore the historic the Paul Laurence Dunbar Library in that space, and so and then they said you're now also the librarian of that space. I'm like, okay, so I'm the librarian of that space, and then I'm a writer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. I'm a writer, I'm a librarian, and I'm at Kheprw. I'm a writer, I'm a librarian, and I'm at Kheprw.
Mm-hmm.
And so each of the jobs flow into the other. At Kheprw, for example, one of the things I'm at Kheprw, I'm one of the lead mentors at the Kheprw Institute. Well, mentoring is literally me just working with students. And so, like even now, I have one of my students here in the Kheprw space as part of my summer shadow program,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just me just still doing the same stuff. And so that's how I try to keep it organized. I mean, it's intense, but I can usually keep it between as a 9 to 5 gig unless I have an evening speaking engagement of some sort.
Like
So,
this one.
like this one, right? But also, my life is literally set up where I'm only doing the stuff I love to do, so none of it's work. I mean, I work with kids all day at school. They are a chore, but I love the work.
Right.
They are. I mean, I do love my students, and they know I love them, and so that's why we
You
we
can
can.
say that,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's why I can say that exactly. But I love that work. I love working in community, and I don't even. I don't. Actually, I work for community. So this is my act of service for community. So that's still not work. I mean, it's a slog working alongside J. Rue. Oh, it's so rough out here in these streets, you know. So there's that, and then my writing life. I mean, I hang out with you, for example, right? Or but I mean, think of it. Last summer, you came and hung out, and then you came over to hang out at my porch, where you got to hang out with my mentees from last summer. Neighborhood artists would pop in. That's my community organizing work. It all just feeds into each other.
It's all braided together.
Right.
Right. Looking at it from the outside, I'm gonna be honest, Maurice, it looks stressful as hell. But you managed to do it, right? And
Right.
it's like it's just quite impressive. And
Yeah.
and it's good that you don't feel like it's
Yeah.
it's work. So that means that you can do all of that stuff
Right.
and you can handle the weight of it. And,
Right.
You know.
And it literally, like last night I came home after teaching at Clarion West, and I'm sitting there, I'm bragging about the students and how awesome they are, and my wife was watching me get hyper, and she's like, I get it, you love your students. Like, okay, as long as it's like, but it is. I mean, I work with. I surround myself with talented people. I pour myself into talented people.
Yeah.
It's not work. It's stuff that energizes me. So
It's beautiful. You're an extrovert, right?
I'm actually not.
No.
I'm actually. My wife and I have this constant argument because she is an introvert. That's my wife over there, Sally. That's my wife of 25 years. And we just renewed our vows.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. We renewed our vows at MoCon this year. So it was a surprise. So MoCon's my writers conference that I do here in town.
Named after you. It's I just imagine it as a giant Maurice head where people just
okay. So here's the thing. So we actually did do that one year. We did that 2 years ago. We called it the Wall of Mo, and it was just neighborhood artists. Each neighborhood artist painted their own portrait of me, and then we just made a huge wall of. I'm surrounded by enablers. I would not have done this on my own.
I would melt it to the floor.
Oh, right. But I think my favorite part was that it was a surprise vow renewal. So like the actual attendees of MoCon didn't know we were doing this. We just surprised everybody and said, by the way, you are our beloved community. And so we wanted to renew our vows in front of our beloved community. Right. And so like only people who knew in advance were like some of the guests, some of the special guests. So like Dr. Cheshire Burke, for example. So she was my best man.
This is beautiful, man.
And then Rath James White. And y'all have to know, Rath is like, he's 6'6", former champion kickboxer, former model, and an extreme horror writer, right? So we had him as our flower girl. And then we had one of the neighborhood poets. They were the officiant for the wedding. And then another poet wrote a poem that week for the ceremony. And she wrote it out on a scroll and then read from the scroll in front of, I mean, we were all crying at that point.
Beautiful. That's beautiful, man.
Wait, where was I going with the story? What did you ask me?
I don't know.
Okay, good talk. This is where we're at.
Okay, I have one more question.
Okay.
Okay, we should be doing Q&A at some point now. I just want to ask this quickly.
Yeah.
You had a story in Jordan Peele's anthology Out There Screaming, right? The Norwood Trouble, right? And when I was reading it, one of the things that I was thinking about was just how it's set in the past, but it feels present in the sense that all of the details feel very concrete and very real. I was just wondering how you did that. Like, how did you How did you manage to tell a story, a historical story,
Mhm.
make it feel so present and prescient? And also, how you managed to mix that with fantastical elements
Okay.
so effectively.
Um, now, so I'm gonna peel the curtain back
Please do.
so you
Yeah,
can see how the magic happens.
please.
I don't know. So remember I said the community organizing work feeds into the writing
Yeah.
and feeds into us. So there's a neighborhood artist and historian. Her name's Kayla Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And so and she was making at the time she was just making her name as a neighborhood historian and everything. And so I was just like, hey, can we meet for coffee? I just would love to pick your brain sometime. And so we get together and we hang out. We immediately start vibing because it's just like, okay, we could tell within about 10, 15 minutes, oh, we're friends for life. Got it. And then like halfway through the conversation, she starts talking about this Norwood community that she's now been a part of. She's been doing this sort of like this archival work, has discovered this neighborhood and all this kind of stuff. And so the Norwood community is on the southeast side of Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a free black community that was established right after the Civil War. In fact, the U.S. colored troops were stationed here in Indianapolis in the Fountain Square area, and so they were part of the troops that went down to Galveston, Texas, to announce Juneteenth, what would become Juneteenth. And then they come back here to Indianapolis, and they form two communities,
Mm-hmm.
Norwood and Barrington, right? So she's telling me the story and everything, and I'm like, tell me more. She goes, oh, you think that's good? So Norwood's the community. If the soldiers had families, they would be in they would live in Norwood. If they were without families, they lived in Barrington. So it's basically the unofficial red light district of Indianapolis at this point.
All right.
So like, and now also keep in mind, so like the Indiana Avenue is in its heyday at this point, or will soon be coming into its heyday.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the jazz heads, when they would play at Indiana Avenue, would then go to Barrington to hang out for after sets.
Okay.
So that's that part, right?
This is cool. I've never heard of this before.
Right.
Yeah.
It gets better. She tells me this one story, and then I found an article confirming this. I think it was in the Indianapolis Recorder. She goes, "Oh, by the way, there were these two pastors in Norwood who would who do church services by day, but at night would cast Orisha spells of protection over Norwood." I said, "What?"
Yep.
And I'm like, "Oh,
That's a story.
that's a story." And so that big and Norwood actually sits between is basically surrounded by a bunch of sundown towns.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I got to write this story.
Good.
And so that's what became the Norwood the
Mhm.
Norwood Trouble.
Did you do a lot of did you end up talking to a lot of people about stuff, or like how did you bring together all of that?
So I'm gonna tell you a
detail.
story.
Okay.
Because most of that I just went from there. That's all I needed. I
Mhm.
got you from here. I'll just create the rest in my head.
Okay.
And so
That's good.
and so that's what I did. Um, and then I sent the story to my friend Kayla. I said, "What'd you think?" She goes, "Oh, I love the story." And then she goes, "I gave it to my daughter. My daughter loved the story." I'm like, "Great." She goes, "Yeah, I gave it to one of the elders in Norwood." I was like, "That's great." She goes, "No, the elder wants to see you."
Oh.
I'm like, "Wait, okay." So, and you know that sinking feeling you get when you've been called into the principal's office. So I'm like living this right now. And so I go to the elder's house, and she is how old is she? I think she's like 96 or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
And so I sit down across from her, and she goes, "It's not that I have any qualms about the quality of the writing." I remember this to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this to this day. It's not that I have any qualms about the quality of the writing. As she says that, Kayla leans over and shows me this picture, and it's Langston Hughes handing her an award for her writing. And I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." And she goes, "I didn't want the first story about Norwood to be a scary story." And so I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I'm also writing a middle grade novel, a historic middle grade novel about Indiana Avenue during its heyday, and one of the boys is from Norwood. Would that be a better debut? She goes, "I want that. I want that story." Like, okay. So I write both, send them both off. But having been, as you were familiar with the publishing industry, I cannot control the publishing schedule.
Right.
So the middle grade book has yet to come out.
Oh.
And I turned it in 2.5 years ago.
It's not your fault.
It's not.
Are you okay though? Is it okay?
So then Kayla comes over to the porch and she's just like, hey, who's going to tell her that the story's out? And I'm like, I don't know, but let me know how that goes. and she like, oh no, we're both doing this. And so we're literally on the porch, we're strategizing. How are we gonna break it to the elder? And so like Taylor's like, well, this is her favorite flowers. So I buy like a dozen. I buy a bouquet of a dozen of these flowers, right? And then Kayla has her daughter print out all of the reviews of the Norwood Trouble for that are out there. So she prints out all this, and then we all go over to the elder's house to present our case for this is what happened. And then she's sitting there, and you have to realize this. She's 90-something, but she has this real regal air about her. So she's just like, what is it you all want to tell me? And so we all do this huge song and dance, right? Like here's some flowers, and we do this whole thing, and then she looks at us and goes, oh, and I printed out a copy of the middle grade novel and sent it to her.
Mm-hmm. Good move.
Right. And so we do the whole song and dance, and then she's real quiet, and then she goes, I actually never thought anyone would be interested in our story. But you're telling me all these people are interested in our story of Norwood? And we're like, yeah. She goes, oh, okay then. And so then we're like, okay. And then she goes, by the way, how old are you? And I'm like, so I'm 53. She goes, no. How old are you really? Like, no, I'm really 53. She goes, because I read your middle school book. And the way you wrote it, it was like you lived it. And I was like, so at this point, I'm just a puddle of tears at this point. And I'm like, I don't need any review should that book come out.
Yeah, that's it right there.
That's it right there. I got the review of my elder.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. I don't even care if the book doesn't come out. My elder gave her seal of approval on that book. I'm good.
You collect these things somewhere, right? All of these things that people tell you.
I do. In fact, I have a picture where the elder signed a copy of the story and Out There Screaming, talking about never be afraid to tell your stories.
Oh man, that's beautiful. All right, the middle school book is coming out, so.
Well, we hope so. We're gonna have a talk. Well, I haven't really pushed it because I'm under deadline because I still have both the last book of the trilogy to write, and then I may or may not have a book deal with Wayne Brady that's also due.
You have what?
I don't remember. I blacked out for a second there because it hasn't been publicly announced. But you know.
Okay. All right. I'm not gonna. There's a red thing there, so we should open it up for questions.
Oh yeah.
I could talk to you.
Oh, and then if anyone here in our live audience, if you have a question, don't be afraid.
Yeah, I have a couple questions here, but if there's anybody over there who's ready to queue up, they can kick us off.
Oh, they said they want you guys to go first.
Okay. All right. Well, this kind of resonates a little bit with what you just shared. Do you have advice for writers switching between middle grade or young adult and adult fiction novels?
My advice, well, make sure you have these conversations with your agent because this could potentially drive your agent insane. It does not with mine because my agent, both my previous agent and my current agents, because they're best friends, so they're all both used to my antics. They're well aware of what it is I do and how I do it. So, but I make a point of of staying in conversation with my agent so that so she knows what I'm working on, what I'm thinking about working on, and things like that. That being said, I started writing middle grade novels because I started teaching at a middle school. Because I knew one day my students would eventually Google me or something, and and I have titles out there like Orgy of Souls, And I'm like, I don't need that. Them going home to their parents talking about, here's what our teacher wrote. And so I'm like, let me start writing middle grade novels. And so that's literally how I started writing middle school books. Um, thank you. But I didn't realize I would love it so much. And so my whole thing is like, follow your writing passions, right? So the middle school book, for example, it found its origins. One, I knew I needed to write one. Well, I wanted to write one to try and, get the middle schoolers off my trail. But also, I wanted to give something for my sons to read. And so, like The Usual Suspects, which was the first book, is literally a thinly veiled chronicle of my son's antics in school, right? And I wanted something that would commemorate, like, nah, this is what y'all chuckleheads were up to, that we had to parent and survive, frankly. And so I wanted that chronicle. And in fact, that's why that book is dedicated to my first son, because he was my editor for that book, just like the eventual.
Cool. Like he gave feedback as
he did.
That's great.
Just like my son, second son, the one that's currently in production, that book is dedicated to him. So, but yeah, the bouncing back and forth. Yeah, I guess and then there are some technical things to keep in mind, which is, so like when you sign contracts, you may have exclusivity clauses in that contract. And so one of the things that my agent had to work out was the fact that Maurice does adult stuff and he does middle grade stuff. Those are not considered. Oh, Sally, could you get the door? Those are not considered. Those don't break exclusivity, because the adult stuff is for one group, the middle grade stuff is for another group. He's free to write in both. And so, but we had to get that ironed out, because originally in the contract they were like, you can't write anything else, and it's like, no. He has to have that freedom to do both. And so that's allowed me a certain amount of wiggle room to move forward. Yeah.
Yeah, these contracts.
These contracts. Well, so I have the Astra Black series going on. Then I had the middle grade series coming on. So that's 2 book series I'm in the middle of. Then the Black Panther thing pops up. And so then it's like,
and you can make an argument for that because it's IP, right? Is that how that worked? Or
no, the argument was it's Black Panther.
Okay, all right.
that was my entire argument. It's Black Panther. That's my favorite superhero.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked me to write him.
So you're gonna do it no matter what.
I'm gonna do this. But actually, it didn't have to go that far, because everybody. So the middle grade was like, oh, well, it's Black Panther. We get it. And then the same thing with the Astra Black. He's like, oh, it's Black Panther. No, you get it. So they put all my other deadlines were on pause. So for those 3 months to get the Black Panther book out. But then when the pause button was hit again, then it's like, oh, that's great. All your books are due right now. So it was rough.
I don't know how you survived that.
It was rough.
Congrats on surviving that.
Have we got any questions over there?
They're looking at me beatifically.
I do have a question. If I say that Elle asked this question, you know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So just picture this coming from her. In your capacity as a mentor, when do you intend to sit down and give permission to the rest of us to do so?
Because that was literally the advice I was giving her. That's such a good question. Answer it. Oh, I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question, please? Would I give permission? I don't know. She may have me on this one. Look, there. Oh, man, Elle. Because I could look like a huge hypocrite right now. So many times I've said, Elle, you've done enough. Elle, take a minute. Focus on you. We want to hear your stories. We want to hear from you. We want to see your work. You do so much for community. Can you hit a pause button for a minute to do you, because we want your stories. So Elle perfectly has that permission. She needs to sit down and do that thing.
But not you. Not you, though.
No, I need to. You know what? I have a break scheduled for September. I'm scheduling a break in September. September will be my pause.
But what does that mean? When you say break, what does that mean?
I will have turned in, I think I would have turned in all of the books that are due, I think, by September.
Well, what are you gonna? What are you doing?
What are you, my wife right now? That's literally the conversation we just had a couple of days ago.
You dug in the question, Maurice.
I will be ensconced in the school, so I'll be back to just being a librarian. I will be being a mentor in the Kheprw spaces, and I will try to not put additional work on myself. And any writing I do will be strictly exploratory, just for fun sort of writing.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the best I got. Dang on.
No, it's okay. It's good.
It's as good as I got.
Yeah.
That's
That still sounds like a lot of stuff you do.
I am the worst at
Okay,
this.
I just have to
I
say
can spot and diagnose a problem, but as you know, that whole physician heal thyself thing, I'm just like, okay. So thanks, Al.
She did put checkmate, sir, in the chat. Yes, and she says she'll be checking in September. You heard it here first. September break.
Okay, I will hold myself accountable to
keep him
community.
accountable.
Yes.
Everyone.
I will say when Maurice showed up this week to teach for Clarion West, which is already like a full-time job in itself, and then he turns around and says, well, I'm also teaching my students at the same time, and I'm sharing things that are coming up in workshop with my middle schoolers. And I was like, how do you how do you switch your brain? But maybe you're not switching your brain that much. I don't know. Maybe everybody really is. You can relate to them all as you can relate to middle schoolers.
Yeah, well, so I actually practiced that last year. So I taught an MFA course at Butler University last summer, and what I ended up doing is I would go over the same material during the day on the porch with my middle schoolers, and then as sort of like my practice run to doing it that night with the MFA students. And honestly, it was the middle schoolers asked me such challenging questions, but that like by the time I got to the MFA students, it was just like, oh yeah, y'all are easy, right? Because the middle schoolers are they're no joke. They are, and that's why I like working with them, because
No filter.
huh? No filter. Oh man, so no filter. Which is why I keep them muted during the Clarion times, because I don't want to upset my Clarion students with what's going on with the middle schoolers, because I'm trying to protect the ears of my Clarion West students. So
Hilarious.
All right, any more questions from that side? Our audience here has stuck around, but they're also probably staring in adoration. So
that might have been some mild embellishment on my part, but I'm gonna paint the myth and live into it. So going once. Oh wait, I'm not moderating. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's my job, right? I have more questions. I'm just trying not to do that. I was gonna ask you about this thing that's being adapted by AMC and what that's like.
So all right, so fast forward, that deal actually is quietly collapsed.
Okay.
So during right now, Hollywood is a mess right now.
I had a
Yeah.
collapse deal as well.
Right. But
as it happens, this is something that happens a lot.
it happens a lot.
You know,
Happens a lot.
TV film is unpredictable.
But like I was initially having a really horrible experience dipping my toe into Hollywood.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm just not used to the way Hollywood does business and how, you know, their version of editing, which looks a lot in what they call editing, I call rewriting without my permission. You know, so things like that. And so like at one point I was going to rage quit the entire project. Right. And then there were two voices of reason. One was from my wife, who was like, yeah, that check hasn't cleared yet.
I was waiting. I was like, he's gonna say something about check clearing.
Yeah, that part. And then the second thing was from actually it was from one of the co-founders of at Kheprw, and he said, "Why don't you consider this a class on Hollywood that they are paying you to take.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that sort of shifted my
That's so good.
paradigm,
That's so good.
I was just like, oh, y'all can do whatever. I'm not now. I'm just in the spot where I'm just trying to learn what's going on, so that when another property of mine is due to be adapted, I now know what questions to ask, what to look for, terms to better negotiate in contracts. I'm now in a classroom, and y'all are helping me figure out the classroom. And so that I consider a very instructive period, but it's also allowed me to have different conversations with some of my fellow creatives also. So now um, we're still staying in conversation with each other. Those were all doing the work in the Hollywood spaces, and we're still trying to figure out how do we support each other in our respective like writers' rooms as we negotiate different deals. So it's like,
That's really good.
yeah, so like none of us are going on this path alone. We're all working on it together.
Mm-hmm.
So and so that's the way we're all just moving forward.
Yeah.
So,
I want to create like a bingo game for Maurice stories. And one of the things is going to be, has the check cleared, right?
right.
Or some mention of checks clearing.
Right.
And then the other one will be some kind of community organizing that develops from the thing that you're doing,
Right.
which I think is quite awesome.
And yeah, because so now there's a group of local filmmakers who we're in conversation with, and so it's like, all right, so since we're in this space now, and Hollywood's in a state of chaos, what would it look like for us to reimagine what that system could look like,
Mm-hmm.
and then start doing our projects now based off of what we want to do and how we want to do it, rather than wait on Hollywood to get its act together. What could that look like? So again, we're back to dreaming together
That's
about
brilliant.
what these things could do and what it could look like.
That's so dope.
Like, yeah.
That's amazing. There's a red dot.
Yes,
Uh-oh.
we do have a question, and just looking at time, maybe this will be the last one we pose, and I think you could both answer this one. Although if somebody over there comes up with a question, please do give them the opportunity. Ephraim
Still
Orgy.
beatific over here. So
So this comes from Ephraim Orgy, who asked, what is the best way for a new writer to grow in their craft?
ooh.
Okay. Yeah. I got one for that. I think the most helpful thing for me when I was just starting out was close reading. So and when I taught last year, the thing that I opened with was making yourself a craft dictionary. So what a craft dictionary is like you take something from something you've read multiple times, and it's something that an author is doing that you deeply admire. You're like, how did they do that, right? You figure out how they did it, and you give it a name that you will remember and recognize. You define it in a way that you will remember and recognize, and then you put the example on that page, and then you just collect a book of that, right? I'm really bad at this. I've made like several craft dictionaries, and I keep losing them. I made a couple with classes, and that's really fun. So like we would have like our reading list of stuff to do, and we would read the stories, we would talk about the stories, and then we would select things from the stories to put into our group, our classroom craft dictionary. And we collected a bunch of stuff that way. And we also did it with each other's writing as well. And so that is really helpful because it starts making you think of a toolbox and building a toolbox. It can be quite intimidating as a writer to think that all of this has to come from you, and all of the talent and the inspiration. You have to be a genius. And when you think about it that way, when you think about it as like, oh, I can collect things from other really great writers, and I can think about what I would do differently with that same technique. Like one technique that I had was it was called, I called it Jump, and it was in Tobias Wolff's The Chain. And this was one of the ones that I shared with the students, and it was a way to transition between POVs without breaking, without like a section break, right? And so the way that you do that is you pull out and you talk about the world or the town, and then you drop back into another person. And so we read through that, and we like talked about, well, how did he do that? And then we gave it a name, and I shared my name for it, and that was like an inspiration for a story that I called Jump, right? And so that's my advice. Like read closely, read multiple times, and collect things, and use that as an inspiration for your own work.
Yeah. Sorry, I was distracted because I'm literally watching my mentee over there with her book
Oh, that's great.
And she is, and I happen to know what she's doing over there because she has a collection of paint swaths over there that she's using to be her guide for what her characters' outfits are going to look like.
That is cool as hell. That is amazing.
You're not on the microphone, so you don't get to talk. Oh, now she's matching up the colors with what each character's personality looks
better.
like.
That's
So
even better.
I know, right?
That's fantastic.
And so, hey, that's why I like working with middle schoolers, because they remind me of why I write, which I'm writing for the love of it,
Right.
and which is different from writing for publishing. I'm writing.
And they're tapped into that.
I'm tapped. I keep. And it reminds me to stay tapped into that. So for me, it starts with why am I writing? I'm writing from a place of love. I love to do this thing, right? And so because I love to do it, I keep doing it. And so my thing has always been about what does it look like to get the practice of writing down. And so you like read it multiple times, read it again, and I'm like, swap out reading for writing, and then that's the other half of it.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly writing, constantly doing that thing, and I will write. I'll write anything. And so there's plenty of times when I would say yes to projects just for the experiment. I said yes to the Watchdogs too. I didn't even know how much it paid at the time. My wife hates it when I say this, but I'm like, I would have done that for a ham sandwich because I'm writing because this is a new writing challenge for me. So I'm in it for the writing challenge, and each writing challenge builds your skill set.
Yes.
Right. So like for example, when I was doing the game writing for all the other properties, that taught me something invaluable. It taught me how to do fast turnaround on projects, right? Because if you get a gaming assignment, you usually got about 24, 48 hours to turn around the assignment. That taught me how to write fast, right? And that became invaluable. So imagine that in 2008, then fast forward to you got 3 months to write Black Panther. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'll have the rough draft done in 2.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah, that would have been the end of me. So yeah, I mean, it's good advice, right? Like, give yourselves opportunity to write different things and to write often. And I mean, like, that seems pretty basic, but it's super important. That's how you get the skill.
It's super important. Then
the muscle.
The second thing is surround yourself with a supportive community who can pour into you, because it's a lot. Because especially when it comes to publishing,
it's rough.
It is rough.
Yeah.
And it becomes a lot easier when you got folks around you who are there to champion you and support you, and who you can champion and who you can support. So it's not you going through it alone. It's no, y'all are in it together. I mean, it's one of the things I love about the Clarion classes is like, oh no, that's your new tribe, right? That's a whole group of folks you get to go through the industry with.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that was an ending note right there.
I think you did great. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we didn't get anybody on that end showing up yet. They're still stuck in their reverie.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I've reduced them to stunned silence.
Okay, I did see one last question. If you want to take, I know you were like, that's an ending note, but
you just gotta do it again, Maurice.
I'll do it again.
Gotta do it again. Yeah. All right. So I think this will be our last one we're able to answer. And I don't know the name pronunciation, but looks like Hana. So a lot of the energy, oh, you know this person. Okay.
I do.
A lot of the synergy between your different work streams appears to be due to being able to experience the magic of working in real person space with people. Any advice on how or where a disabled writer who can't get to much in person can foster similar synergy between writing and community?
Hannah, you literally have my cell phone number. Why is this a question? So the thing about Hannah, so I met Hannah on the Writing Excuses cruise, right? And there was a group of us. I think Hannah organized this. Actually, I think Hannah organized this, as a matter of fact. And we call ourselves.
That sounds so fun, by the way.
And it was, because it was called B13, and that was the deck that we would all meet at 10 o'clock at night, and we'd all be in our pajamas, and it's like, and now we're just gonna write. And that was what we did. We would just get together, and by the way, that was when I wrote the 3 chapters of Sweep of Stars, was doing that. Thank you. In fact, when the alien race is actually named after Hannah, by the way, because of that. And so, in fact, and then during the pandemic lockdown, when because now we're all sort of stymied at home, Hannah does the same thing, and reunites the B-13 crew during the lockdown, because we're all stuck in the same place, and it was just gathered us together virtually so we could all muddle through it together again. And so, so how do you go about doing that? Don't be afraid to reach out to your people. Right. I mean, and that can be a big hurdle, because it's like, oh, I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to trouble. I hear this one a lot. I don't want to be a bother. I don't want to trouble you. And da 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 da. If you're my friend, Hannah, if you're my friend, Cadwell, you're not. No, if you're my mentee, you don't count. But you're not a bother. You're not a bother. You have people in your life for a reason who you are not a bother for, who want the excuse for you to reach out and hang out. It's like, no, we want the excuse. We want the excuse for us to tap in together, and let's muddle through this together. You helped me through a time. I'm happy to help you through a time. Yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to your people, because your people want to support you. Hannah, your people want to support you.
Thank you. I have no notes. Just that everybody in the chat has clearly been really, really enjoying this conversation. So thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was perfect.
I love this. And thank you all for coming out, by the way. Thank you so much for coming out. This was great.
Thank you all for coming out.
All
All
right.
right. Should I be like, sorry, go ahead, Jay.
Oh, I was just going
Someone
to
has to end this.
ask Kheprw if Kheprw had any closing remarks or.
Oh man, you never give them the microphone.
Always.
I did share the event coming up, but I'm happy to post it again.
Happy to be cozy with you, Jay.
Thank you, Jay. Yes, it's me and Maurice here. I love you so much, Maurice, and this was a great conversation. The only thing I have left to say, donate.kheprw.org, donate.kheprw.org, donate.kheprw.org. Harambe, thank you.
That's fantastic. That's the right hustle right there.
That's right.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all for coming out.
Thank you so much. Thank
This
you
was
so much. This was
fantastic.
great.